All right, so today we're going to be debunking this shithead Seraphicsauce with his horrible calcs and specifically this versus battle between Ryuko and Boros. We believe he misrepresented both characters and used very vague lines of scaling that shouldn't be used whatsoever to scale both characters, and he's ignoring statements and only using things that benefit Boros as a character, as he does favor Boros in this matchup. So, first, we'll be going over how he scales Boros to Saitama. I believe this is incredibly wrong, as he basically says that Boros with one arm was capable of keeping up and pushing back and overpowering Saitama the entire fight, who's undoubtedly above Tatsumaki. While I do agree that Saitama is above Tatsumaki, that obviously cannot be refuted, but the problem with this is he's saying that Boros scales to Saitama, right? When this is blatantly false, as at the end of the fight, it's stated by Boros himself that Saitama was holding back, and there's nothing to support the fact that Boros would be fighting a full power Saitama here. And furthermore, he talks about how Boros fought suppressed Saitama, and so did Monster Garo. See, the problem with this is you're equating these two characters based on a suppressed character. Now, Saitama can be suppressed by 3% or by 100% or literally any amount possible. There's infinite possibilities to the amount that he was suppressed. And we cannot assert that he's suppressed by the same amount in both of these fights, as that would be an extraordinary claim, and we have no proof behind it. And if anything, he'd be less suppressed against Garo because that's what seems to be pushed by the narrative, right? So, going off of that, he basically scales this Boros above Tatsumaki and gets him at multi-continental with his normal kicks and punches, excluding collapsing star roaring cannon. I don't believe this is bad, but he didn't give a proper scale as to why he would be above Tatsumaki besides using this vague scaling with suppressed Saitama. So I believe this to not be the case, and it's fucking retarded. So onto his speed scaling for Boros. This speed scaling is actually really bad. So his speed scaling is basically Boros is above Awakened Cockroach. And more accurately, it's around Boros is stronger than like Psychos, Tatsumaki, and Orochi essentially blitzes Awakened Cockroach. The problem with this is that Awakened Cockroach quite literally doesn't have feet when Orochi blitzes him and only has like wings. So we don't know the speed of said wings, and we don't know his travel speed or anything like that, or his reaction speed, right? Without his feet. So he may be able to perceive Orochi's horn, but he couldn't dodge it due to lack of mobility with his feet. Uh, and not only that, but he just assigns Boros above them with the same arbitrary suppressed Saitama scaling that doesn't that doesn't work. As even the fake scan that says Boros damaged Saitama, it shows like almost no damage in the first place. So his speed scaling is also retarded. I'll provide an alternate way to actually scale Boros' speed. So at the end of the fight with the Awakened Cockroach, it's stated by Genos that Goketsu is comparable to Awakened Cockroach in speed. Essentially, he says this: something approaches at high speed. Is that the Roach again? So when he's saying this, he's basically saying Goketsu is on the level of speed of Awakened Cockroach, which is completely fine. And we know that Orochi, his entire lore is to be the strongest monster, king of monsters, and trained to be one of the only dragons that Giro Giro could make, right? So we can assert that, Orochi would be above this Goketsu, and that Boros is unquantifiably FTL. So I don't believe that Boros isn't multi-continental and he isn't FTL. I believe that Seraphicsauce's scaling is quite literally retarded to the point where it doesn't make any sense at all. So he's assigning these arbitrary values to both characters, especially to Boros, right? And where I think he should scale is around low ends FTL, could be higher, but we don't have a way to assert that. And then multi-continental, and I agree with planetary when he's using his special attack that he used at the end of the fight, collapsing star roaring cannon.
All right, guys. My name is your boy Skeeter. Also, I'm the IG known as Predatory Skeeter. I'll have my link down to my channel down below. You can follow me on Instagram, but today I'm just gonna be going over like why this in this post I feel like he represented Ryuko horribly, like utter dog shit. And my homie Shattered already covered the Boros scaling, so I'm mainly gonna be touching into Ryuko, and then afterwards we'll go into how the fight would actually play out, right? So as for Ryuko scaling, he goes on to say that okay, Ryuko performed the feat that was calculated at 645 petatons in her Kisaragi form. Now, I'm not sure what feat he's referring to, but it I think it might be her at like destroying the fiber, the planetary life fiber, and he like says that okay, she got vastly stronger after this point to the force where she forced Ryuko to transform, so then it's probably even not that feat. So I'm not exactly sure what feat he's talking about, but he just says that okay, in that final form, she should be around 1 exaton. Now, I don't know where he gets that from. I have no idea where he gets that from. That's just a blatant assumption. Like he doesn't say there's a calc for it or anything. It just says like okay, she gets like an amp, and the amp is likely 1 exaton, around 1 exaton. And I have no idea where that is, and that's a ridiculous low ball. Since even like Versus Battle Wiki has a calc that I believe is a low ball, and even Versus Battle Wiki has the moon calc, at moon level, or aka 34.2 exatons. So you like arbitrarily you like lowballed it ridiculously. I don't know where this comes from at all. Almost 30 times weaker than the initial value, which I also believe is a low ball. Now, if you wonder why I believe Senketsu Kisaragi actually scales like Yuko with this suit on, I believe she's blatantly planetary. Now, obviously, there is this calc, but as for the calc itself, I believe the calc is just not needed if there's like blatant statements of this light fiber being able to destroy the planet. Like it's blatantly stated, and that's the whole narrative of it, is that the lifesaver was going to engulf the entire planet, turn the entire planet into a lifesaver. Man, I said a lightsaber, a life fiber, and then it'll explode and then it'll spread throughout the universe. That's basically the whole narrative and the whole point of the thing. It's stated so many times. And, like I said, you can lowball it to moon if you want, but in reality, it's very, very evident that it's planetary. And if Yuko just one shot it, so she'd be very, like, bare minimum planetary. So I don't know why you have this, like, assumption that it'll be around 1 exaton or that it's 4 times weaker than Boros. But yeah, that's not right at all. Now going on to speed, you say Ryuko in her pre-synchronized form was capable of moving at almost 5% c, 5% the speed of light. This was later lowered on to 1% the speed of light on a revision because of calc stacking, but there isn't anything inherently wrong with it, so I'll use 5%. But I honestly don't know what you're talking about here. Um, the only I assume you're referring to the feat where she sliced the tennis balls, right? But when she sliced the tennis balls, there's no calc stacking there. That was just one singular feat. So I'm not sure what you meant by calc stacking. Now, actually, me and one of my trusted homies, Pito, helped me revise that calc, and actually we got it higher than the initial value. Because you see, it assumes that those tennis balls would be at around the speed of a bullet, right? Around the speed of like, a normal bullet. But that's actually not shown to be the case, seeing as how Mako can easily react to bullet fire and like gunfire, yet gets blitzed by these tennis balls. So then I had my friend Pito do that calc, and we actually got it up to around 10C, 10% the speed of light, or 10% C. So no, I don't know where you got the calc stacking thing from, but doesn't exist. Anyways, moving on from there. Um, we all have like a post on this going over Ryuko's speed, but going with some other calcs, and I did calc stack for those, but as you said, there's nothing inherently wrong with those, and I have justification for those. As you have like feats like Ryuko, being able to get blitzed by fucking Sanagayama, New Way blitzing Sanagayama, and then stronger Ryuko later on blitzing New Way. And this isn't even final form Ryuko. This is just like regular base Ryuko. So this is an absolute low ball, and I'll have my link to the post in the description. But I did get her speed to around 48 times the speed of light. So you did lowball it, and I will like commend you for at least getting her to the FTL plus tier. But no, she is not 27 times the speed of light. I have around 48 times, and I believe you heavily lowballed her speed there, and her AP. And just going over like everything else you said, me and Shatter, I guess, about to go into how the actual fight would play out. But I know you said that you didn't really, you're not really well knowledged on Kill la Kill, so you probably made some mistakes. So I won't exactly get on your head too much for that, but I will advise you to not, you know, make so much arbitrary claims on this, because you did make a lot of like claims that I just have no idea where they came from, and I feel like you severely lowballed it, especially with the this should be around 1 exaton BS. But yeah, Shattered, I guess we can get into how the actual fight would play out now.
Okay, so now we're basically going to be going over the conclusion essentially. So where I think Boros scales, I think he scales unquantifiably faster than light. We can't really assert too high of a value really. Best guess is maybe like lower into MFTL or like FTL plus, but there's no way to assert that. And I'm just gonna have him at FTL. In terms of AP, it's fine to have his AP around multi-continental punches and kicks, and of course his collapsing star roaring cannon would vastly outscale him as he's pushing out all his energy to essentially planetary levels.
Yep. Now, as for Ryuko, I do believe her AP scales around planetary, but if you do want to like super duper lowball and say, oh, the light fibers weren't planetary at that exact state, it's fine because it's still bare minimum around moon level. To be exact, 34.2 exatons. But I do believe the most accurate representation would be planetary because it's just like it's blatantly stated. So I just don't think the calc would be like even necessary. But yeah, I do believe that like obviously Ryuko would hold the superior AP advantage here since Boros, at least without collapsing star bar and cannon, would just be around multi-continent.
Yeah. So as far as Boros hacks apply, he has insane regen to the point where he could regenerate his whole body in an instant from simply an eyeball, while in his meteoric burst state. And he has good endurance and pretty good stamina, other than his state of meteoric burst. That's actually modeled after Super Saiyan 3 in terms of its design and energy drain, right? So he basically has energy projection and regeneration on a high level, but other than that, he's mostly punches and kicks and beams.
Yep. Now, now as for that, okay, I have no idea why you think that Yuko and Boros have the exact same hacks, when literally the only hacks they have in common is they have really good regeneration. That's literally it. Man, okay. Ryuko also has, ridiculous adaptation. If I were to give some examples, obviously you see like when she was fighting Nonon, the pink-haired bitch, Nonon started flying and dropping like missiles at Ryuko, and then Ryuko instantly gained the ability to fly. And then same thing when she was fighting Inamuda, the invisible guy, and he couldn't exactly pinpoint where he was in the ring, so she developed shape shifting and just made her suit into a big giant like basically like just paddle and just destroy the whole top of the arena, just like slap the whole arena. So then obviously she has like a ridiculous adaptation that lets her adapt to any like circumstances that happen in a battle. So and then fucking on top of that, she also has really good senses. Um, she's able to sense people from like hundreds of meters away. And while that, isn't exactly the best thing in this 1v1, that also comes with emotion sensing because not everyone in Kill la Kill has this, but Ryuko in particular, Senketsu was able to sense people's emotion to an extent. You see, he can feel when like somebody is like basically agitated or like they got some type of emotional distress. So then, or any type of emotions in general. So then, why that like is relevant is you could like say that's kind of a form of precog because that's how like something like Sage Mode works. If you see Naruto, you see like say Naruto, he has like Sage Mode precog, and how it works is that he's able to sense people's emotions. We can let them predict their actions and see anything that's gonna like happen in the future. You can argue Ryuko has something similar to that, which would like even benefit her even further, seeing how she has a massive speed advantage. Now, also she has like a couple other abilities, like smoke manip, heat manip, self sustenance. She can breathe in space. So even in the unlikely scenario that like fucking Boros were to kick her to the moon, yeah, Ryuko would not die. She can breathe in space. Fucking, he has resistance to mind, memory, morality manipulation, all that shit.
Yep.
She can manipulate the size of her like bodies and attacks. She also has flight, which Shattered. Correct me if I'm wrong. Boros does not have flight.
Yeah. So
then you can
as far as Boros goes in terms of aerial combat, you might believe that he does have a form of flight, but basically what this is he's exuding energy from like his armor and his body, similar to his collapsing star roaring cannon, but for movement to stay suspended in the air for a limited amount of time. But he doesn't have any form of flight.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ryuko can like blatantly fly. Like she's just blatantly shown to like move around. She has very good aerial mobility. So then like you could also argue that like Ryuko like would have an advantage with that, as she can like constantly remain airborne if she needs to. But in all honesty, she doesn't need to, because she has superiority in AP, speed, and just has better hacks.
Yeah.
She also has certain other stuff like some air manipulation and some sound manipulation to an extent, so which can kind of somewhat ignore durability, because like these sound waves, it doesn't really attack your physicals. It just kind of like attacks like I don't know, your fucking eardrums or whatever. So then you could also like say some shit like that. But she like does have a vast majority of abilities and hacks at hand. Not anything groundbreaking, sure, but she does have like a vast majority of abilities. But like the only thing notable we see from Boros is like stats amplification via transformation to an unquantifiable degree, and some good regeneration that shouldn't be any superior to Ryuko's.
Yeah. So basically how the fight goes down is Ryuko has better hacks. Boros gets blitzed basically immediately, and he may last a while and actually be forced into his meteoric burst form very early on. And from there, even if we say Ryuko can't kill him because of his regen, Ryuko outlasts him, bullies him until he's out of energy, and then he loses.
Yeah. Because like obviously as we see like freaking Boros like this like regen shit, or we obviously see this regen being overwhelmed by a superior source of AP, such as how like Saitama delivered just a normal punch, and while Boros' entire body wasn't destroyed, we just see his like his regeneration just like it could not come back from that punch. That was like it. So like I don't even think Ryuko has to destroy his entire body. It's not like some Cell or Kid Buu type shit. He just has to like basically damage him to the point where he can't regen anymore.
Yeah, so Ryuko slaps.
Yep, just fucking beats the shit out of him.
So
like,
Skeeter's
and like meanwhile with Ryuko, I also wanted to say meanwhile with Ryuko, like fucking like I think Boros would actually have to like destroy her entire body, and like what Ryuko has to do, because like with Ryuko, you don't see like any limit to her regeneration. You just see her constantly taking fatal attacks, and she just like regenerates like in fucking split seconds.
And while it is possible for Boros to literally incinerate Ryuko, Boros' attacks aren't fast enough to damage Ryuko or like to hit Ryuko in the first place. So
yeah. Let's just say in like the unlikely scenario that like even though this is completely out of character, let's just say that like Boros decides to go in for a cosmic star roaring cannon right off the bat. One, Ryuko is way faster than him, so you could just argue she like blitz him the minute she sees him trying to do it. Or second, you could say that even if you want to like highball that attack to around planetary, that's fine, because Ryuko, I can also skill her around there. So you can argue because of her regen, she either tank or regenerate from the attack. And at that point, we know Ryuko can breathe in space, so then that's just like not even an issue.
Yeah. So in conclusion, Ryuko puts her thighs around Boros' head and rips it off. So
my god, violence. She literally takes the scissor blade, sticks it in his fucking eye, and just rips it open.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna leave Skeeter's channel link in the description. Both our IG links in the description, so you can check out his posts on Ryuko and Satsuki. And we're signing out.
Yeah.